Hey there, I am Tara, and I'm the face behind Autism Little Learners, and I am an SLP. I focus and specialize in young autistic children. I've been working with children who are 3 to 5 years old for the last 10 years and was at the elementary level prior to that. But in case you haven't met me yet, I wanted to give you a little info about my background. Now I want you to tell me about yourself. So in the comments, I love hearing from you. Let me know where you're watching from and what you do. Are you a parent? Are you a special educator? Are you an SLP, a paraprofessional? What do you do every day? And also, I think I said this already. Let me know where you're watching from. I live in Wisconsin and I teach in Minnesota, so I live in a border town. Okay, we have someone here from Nova Scotia. Awesome. Welcome, welcome. If you are new to my Facebook Lives, you will be able to watch the replay later and share it if you'd like. We have a resource teacher. All right, it's good to see the comments coming in. That means that you can hear me and I'm broadcasting live. ECSE teacher from Cottage Grove, which is really close to where I live. SLPA from California, Jana. Leslie, an OT from Maine. Okay, you guys, thank you so much for being here on a Sunday night. This was rescheduled because I was sick right before the holiday, but I'm feeling much better now. You guys probably know, especially working with kids, there's a lot of stuff going around right now. So I hope you are all staying healthy. And hi, Ashley and Tiffany and Stacy and Sarah. I'm so glad you joined me. So this is the last in a series that I've been doing of free mini trainings. And you'll hear at the end of this, I'm going to talk about an adapted book challenge that I have going on starting on Tuesday this week. So if you are watching this live, you'll be able to take advantage of that. If you're watching the replay later, you can always message me and see if you can do the adapted book challenge. Also, even if it's a week or two or months down the line, just message me and we can talk about it. But okay, let's get started because we have to go back to work tomorrow. And we've had a long weekend, and I know sometimes people get the Sunday scaries and we're a little anxious about going back after quite a few days off. So we've got this. We've got the countdown to winter break going. You guys let me know in the comments, when does your winter break start? My last day is December 21st and winter break starts on the 22nd, and I'm ready for the mid-year break. I don't know about you, but okay, so let's get going talking about multimodal communication. Now, another thing you can let me know in the comments, have you heard this term before? Let me know just a simple yes or thumbs up if you've heard it, no if you haven't, and then let me know with a 1, 2, 3. 1, this is new to me, I'm just learning about it. 2, I know a little bit about it, I know what it means. And 3, I am really confident in what multimodal communication is. Okay, so it looks like some of you guys have December 16th as the last day, December 20th, a lot of December 16th, that's nice, December 17th. All right, and the numbers are coming in. We have some 1s, some 2s, a 3, 1, 2. Yeah, I feel like this term, while it talks about something we've known about for a long time, it's being used more and more now, multimodal communication. So I wanted to do a Facebook Live and just chat about it a little bit. All right, so this graphic is from the AAC Coach. I will reference her at the end of this mini training, but if you want this graphic, now is a good time to do a little screenshot. All right, do a screenshot and you can keep that for yourself. But I like how she put this together, saying multimodal communication. We value all forms of communication, right? We're not just going to accept what is said with a textbook or verbal, we're going to respect and value all forms of communication. So it could be a robust AAC system, a picture book like PECS. It could be handwriting, gestures, texting, sign language, facial expressions, body language, typing, mid-tech devices, and speech and vocalizations. So she says, respect how your learner chooses to communicate and acknowledge what they have expressed and model the mode you want to teach. And that's a big thing. It gives us more permission to model what we want them to learn. So multimodal communication can be defined as different ways that we all communicate with each other. And just like that graphic, it could be verbal speech, it could be gestures, facial expressions. We all communicate through all of these different ways. You know, sometimes if we're talking with our friends, you can give a look, right? And that's communicating something. And you don't even have to say verbal words with it. It's just a look can communicate a lot. And so that is part of multimodal communication. Facial expressions, writing, sign language, communication devices, and more. All right. It looks like we have some spam comments coming in, so just ignore those and I will get rid of them when we're done here. So studies show that when multiple modes of communication are used, there are a reduced number of communication breakdowns, right? So you think of a child that tries to say something and then they maybe use a gesture instead. And the gesture conveys what they're wanting to communicate, right? So if they're able to reduce the number of those communication breakdowns that are really frustrating by pulling in another mode of communication, that's really, really going to help with that frustration level. When we acknowledge and honor all types of communication attempts, the child will be less stressed. And so if you're not able to honor the communication, just at least acknowledging it, right? That is going to be really helpful. Once we know all the ways each individual student communicates, then we can begin to honor as much of that as possible. And especially at the beginning when they're new communicators, and I'll give you some examples. So if a student is new to your classroom and let's say you don't know all the ways they communicate yet, or maybe they're not verbally using words yet, they don't have a reliable communication system yet, but they're pushing away an activity. I think our instinct is to push them into trying it, but they're communicating with us, right? So how many times, you guys tell me in the comments, how many times have you seen a student that maybe you bring out an activity and they push it away? And so they're clearly communicating no, right? I don't want to do that. And you're left with the dilemma of like, what do I do then? So at the beginning of the year especially, I focus so much time on building positive relationships. And if the child is pushing away an activity and I'm forcing them or trying to persuade them to do it, I am it's not going to help with a positive relationship, right? And so setting aside our agenda, at least for the time being, and really honoring that communication attempt can help you build a positive relationship. So in the comments, tell me yes, if you kind of get that, but you feel like in this dilemma, right? Of, well, do I just let them do nothing then, right? And at first, maybe, like if your biggest goal is communication, and I'll give some more examples of this. So I think we put pressure on ourselves to feel like, well, no, we need to do this activity. But what if you knew you were working on the skill of honoring the way they communicate at that moment. So we might start with they push it away, and then we start to really think about, okay, how would we prefer them to communicate that? With a push, or would we prefer them to use a picture? So we might show them model, oh, all done. You want to be all done. And at first, we might just honor that and be all done, right? So, what are the chances they're going to use that maybe more clear mode of communicating, like the all done picture that more people could understand and it's a little more effective? That could be our goal. The odds are higher that they're going to use that if we honor it, right? So, if we don't honor it and we try to push through it, what's going to happen? The behaviors could escalate, right? Because they clearly pushed away and showed us, I don't want to do this. So that's when we have to put our thinking cap on. Okay, I'm going to honor this. I'm going to pull out something else that maybe we could do instead. Stacy said maybe try to give 2 task options. Yeah, I love that. So this is where, as you're getting to know students, don't think of it as you're giving in when you're honoring that, but think of it as, okay, I'm going to brainstorm and try to figure out an activity that they would like better, or eventually trying to teach some of that delayed gratification or perseverance and that kind of thing, like first then, that kind of stuff. But at first, we want to preserve the relationship and we want to honor. We want them to communicate with us, even if it's a simple pushing something away. That's a lot better than a big behavior escalated that you might get if you don't honor that communication. So, because I'm a speech language pathologist, I think I'm leaning heavily on the communication side of it. But I don't know about you guys, but when I have parents come in and their kids aren't able to effectively communicate with others, that is the biggest priority on their list, right? Their biggest priority is not always like, oh, I want them to be able to sort colors. I want them to be able to count. They want them to be able to communicate effectively with other people. And Lindsay said, remember that kids are craving a little bit of control. So that kind of goes with what Stacy said, like giving options is a great way to get around this. Dana said, I try to change the task. Yes. Like, how simple is that to acknowledge, like, oh, you don't want to do this. You want all done. Okay, let's do this. Or, pull out something else. So I kind of keep talking on that same line of thinking, but it really is important, at least in my eyes. And I think with the neurodiversity movement, everything is moving more in that direction versus a behavioral only type of approach. So it doesn't mean that we never push them through and never teach them how to persevere, but it means right now we're putting communication first. Communication and relationship as much as possible. Doesn't mean we never say no, or there's certain things that we have to, follow their protests on. But we really need to choose wisely so that we can honor the communication and preserve the relationship. Oh, Daniel, thank you. He said, I couldn't agree more. Good. I'm so happy that there's so many and it takes the pressure off of us, right? You know the kids that when they push something away, if you keep pushing it, the behavior's going to escalate. Who wants that? If people are saying you're giving in, you can say, we're working on communication skills, and this is priority and trumps almost anything else. We want our students to communicate with us, right? So let's do what we can to make sure that those attempts continue to happen and they don't escalate into behaviors, because we're honoring it. So it's imperative for us, those of us who are educators, to ask parents about the ways their child communicates, especially when the kids are new to us in our classroom. I get 3-year-olds. My class this year was mostly beginning 3-year-olds that just came from birth to 3, and it's their first time in a group, in a classroom, in the school setting. So it's really important to get information from parents about how their child communicates. So do they take the parent's hand and lead them to what they want? Do they cry? What does it mean when they cry or have a tantrum? What are they communicating when they're doing that? These insights are so important for us and everyone in the classroom to be aware of. Suzanne, relationship and connection first. Yes. Amen. Yes. That honors students where they're at and builds trust. That is absolutely 100% it. That relationship and connection and honoring where they're at builds trust. The more kids like you and trust you, the more you're going to get out of them in the long run, right? But it just takes time to get there. And so that's Suzanne kind of summarized what I'm saying here. By putting communication first and honoring communication, you are going to work on that relationship and connection and build trust. Just because an autistic child may be non-speaking, it doesn't mean that they're not communicating. So multimodal communication, with that, we respect the ways that the child communicates. And when each modality of communication is valued equally, it gives children a voice. May not be a verbal voice, and that's okay. So being non-speaking does not mean I have nothing to say. Think of your students, you guys. I have a lot of students that are minimally verbal or non-speaking, and they do things every day, multiple times a day, where I know they're communicating. And as we get to know the kids, we know all these little nuances and ways that they're communicating. Kelly said those students that show a need have a work bucket. They help decorate it. It's only theirs. And when they simply can't, they can ask for their work bucket, and it comes equipped with a timer. Unbeknownst to them, most items inside will give me something I need too. Perfect. Being prepared, thinking ahead, like, do I have some activities that student really likes that they usually don't say no to? So if we hit a day where they're pushing something away, okay, we'll do this instead. Great idea, Kelly. And Carly said, I enjoy the saying, connection before correction. Absolutely. 100%. As educators, we want to be careful about insisting on only one mode of communication, too. It's okay to model these other modes of communication, but accepting one specific mode only is not recommended. I think back to, using PECS, and I'm not against using PECS if you're using it in kind of a flexible way, not forcing things hand over hand, that kind of thing. If it is one of a piece of different ways to communicate. But I think of back in the day, let's say the student is at the sentence level. So they're saying, I want chips. And if the student said chips verbally, then they would say, okay, well, now make a sentence. And I think now, with the way things are going, it's so much better, because it doesn't mean you give up on saying a sentence, but if they're verbalizing chips, like, they're getting the chips. I can model with visuals, with my voice. I can model the next step or what I want them to be able to eventually say. Lindsay said adult support training to remind them it's okay that they can adjust their work session when needed with a child. I think that is so important too. It is so hard to take this concept and bring our paraprofessionals on board, because there's so much gray area, right? There's so much flexibility on the spot, and they may not know what activity to pull in instead. So it's kind of going to be on the job training and coaching as you encounter situations like this with kids. Okay, so here's an example of why you would not want to just say, well, you have to use your talker for that, or tell me with your PECS book when they've already communicated. So Here it says, why do I have to say that on the talker again? They're saying, well, tell me on your talker, use your talker, when he already communicated that he wanted to watch Barney. And it says, would you type LOL on your phone every time that you laugh? You know? So accept and respect all modes of communication. It's unfair to expect communicators to repeat their messages on a talker if they've already made themselves clear through other means. So instead, acknowledge their communication attempt and use it as an opportunity to expand language. Does that make sense, you guys? Sometimes thinking about this, you really need to think of specific scenarios, right? And so if this little boy uses a AAC device and uses a talker, and he's able to build sentences on there, but one day verbally he says Barney, and that means he wants to watch Barney. Yeah, he's not saying it in a sentence, but he's clearly communicating to you what he wants. And what they're saying here is you could pick up the talker and model it. Oh, I want Barney. Okay, yeah. So we have all these opportunities for modeling where I think several years ago that wasn't the recommendation. And so we're just not used to doing that, and especially with autistic children. So now that is becoming more accepted and prevalent, and like Suzanne says, honor all types of communication. Yes. So I have a student that we go in the sensory room, and there's balls up on like a big shelf up there. And he goes up and he reaches. He does this kind of thing. He doesn't say anything, but he reaches. Now, I completely know what he wants, right? I'm not going to stop him and say, show me with your picture. But I'm going to take the picture and put it by my mouth and say, ball. Okay, and get it down. And you see how that feels so different than, nope, you have to show me with your picture. Like, he used gestures and he communicated what he wanted. And it was clear. And so I think that's where the shift is happening. So super great. Kelly said, I began my career as a speech therapist prior to becoming a classroom teacher. I let parents know right from the beginning that I offer all modes for all students. We all know how we might struggle to communicate when we're emotional. Even my verbal students might need to use a sign or a picture in those moments. What you give me, I'm taking. Then move on from there with modeling and supports. You guys, you are so on tonight. Like, this little break, Thanksgiving break, has everyone like on. I love it. We're on the same page, you guys. So, for example, I have a student who right now, and this is a true story, right? He does not like to go to the gym class. And I'm at early childhood. It's not like we're in there playing kickball, but for some reason, he does not like going. Now, we go right away in the morning when we get off the bus. And so I have some ideas in my head of why he doesn't want to go in there. I think he is ready to there's toys in the classroom he really, really, really is passionate about, and he wants to get down there. And so we will walk by the gym, and I'll show him a picture on the way, try to prep him, a little visual schedule. Okay, gym class, we're going to the gym. And he says, all done. And he pushes it away. Okay, you guys, don't have to be a rocket scientist, do you, to know what he's communicating to me? Am I going to push him into a big meltdown over this? No. Just because on the arbitrary schedule that I decided on for my classroom that it's time to go there? No. So this student also uses a textbook to communicate, and he has a device. So he has different modes that he can lead on. But during those moments like that, I'm not going to insist that he uses a textbook or uses a device. I'm not going to go in and say, tell me, okay, wait, what? Tell me, what don't you want? Like, I know he already told me clearly in 2 different ways. He said all done, and he gestured, and he also walked very quickly by the gym. Almost a run, but not quite. So those are kind of three ways. And he's probably thinking, if you don't understand what I mean, you have an issue, Tara. So anyway, I'm not going to go and bring the book to him and tell him to tell me on his book. He already protested by pushing the picture away, saying all done, and kind of doing a little run. So with those different forms of communication, he has clearly told me he does not want to go to gym class. Now, does this mean we never go to gym class? No, it means I, as an educator, need to get creative, right? So after this happened a couple times and it was kind of a pattern, I was like, I think it's about the toys. Because when he gets down in the classroom, there's certain toys he's like, I'm here for this. I love this. I will play with this and do anything for this. So one day it was like the Duplos, and he was loving those. So I met him at the door with the Duplos, and I said, gym class, we can play Duplos in gym class. We'll play with the Legos. And he came right into gym with me. I did not make him go do any of the large motor activities. We just sat, played with these Duplos, and had a good time, and ended up having like a really good impromptu speech session because we were on the floor playing with these, and he loves the song Hickory Dickory Dock. And I built a tower, and I said, oh, this is the clock. And then he took the little dog, the Lego dog, and he said, monkey. And I was like, oh my gosh, I know what he's saying. He is pretending this dog is the monkey, which in itself is an awesome skill. And a monkey is one of the characters in the song. So Hickory Dickory Dock, the monkey goes up the clock. And we did that over and over with a variety of different pretend animals. And he was so happy, like the smile on his face. And we were in the gym. And so doing things like that to really accommodate and make modifications for a student. But when a child's protesting, I encourage you, myself, everyone else to put on a creative thinking cap and say, okay, I'm pushing my agenda because, we're in school. We need to learn how to follow a schedule. However, we also need to teach kids how to advocate for themselves and also to make them comfortable in situations like gym class that are maybe not their favorite thing. And so I started with this activity. Have you guys had moments like that too, where you've had to really think outside the box on how to maybe not say, okay, well, we'll just abandon gym class forever, right? Linda said, many days the art of teaching is finding the best ways to incorporate the preferred tasks and non-preferred. Yeah, making kids comfortable, keeping that trust. So that's where accepting all forms of communication can really help us in the long run instead of going head to head, having power struggles. When kids, like in this example, are clearly communicating, we say, well, they can't communicate. Clearly communicating, right? Robin says, what about when they're protesting the bathroom and they're not a self-initiating bathroom request? Yeah, bathroom is really hard for a number of reasons. So you have the sensory aspect, right? It's loud. It's the sitting on a toilet can be really difficult and scary. So many different things. And then they've found too that autistic children in particular have trouble with interoception. And so that's the ability to sense that they have to go. And so Daniel said we have to pair areas and settings sometimes too, so that like we use pairing with people. So I would do for the bathroom, think about making it comfortable with no demands. So at first, we're maybe not even going to take the pants down. We might just go in there and watch a fun song on the iPad. We might go in there and read a book. And you might start with just sitting on the toilet with the pants on, right? So it's going to be slow baby steps if they're protesting the bathroom that much. And they probably aren't self-initiating because of that interoception difference where it's hard for them to sense and feel those internal cues. So if you go on YouTube, I have a couple potty training specific free mini trainings. So check that out. Good question. Okay, so instead of insisting on using pecs, like in that last example, I'm honoring what he's communicating to me. And then as his teacher, like I said, I'm going to start to brainstorm. What about the gym doesn't he like? I kind of went over this already. I got ahead of myself, but how can I make it more comfortable for him? Is it a sensory thing? Does he not like the activities? Is it not structured enough? Does it just feel like chaos to him? Talk to your paras and parents, because they might have some good ideas about what could maybe help with that. So for this little guy, like I said, it was becoming a pattern. When he was coming into school, he's excited for his favorite toys. And then we did the Lego activity, and that helped. Melissa said, I had one student that was afraid of the bathroom. I walked by and blew bubbles for a few weeks, then had the door open and would say, oh, look, bathroom, then stand inside. And now I have 2 students that use the speaking button. So there's a button you can push to let me know when they need to go. Awesome, Melissa, I love that. That is a great idea. So bathroom, slow baby steps. There's 2 things you can't make someone do. You can't make them eat, and you can't make them pee or poop. So tread carefully there and work on becoming more comfortable and trusting with that. Okay, so some ways that my students communicate in the early childhood special education classroom, and let me know, you guys, what do you see in yours? Do you see any of these, all of these? Kids use gestures, pushing away, that kind of stuff. They use gestalts. If you are new to the term gestalts, I have a mini training on this from just a couple weeks ago. So be sure to read the blog post on autismlittlelearners.com and go to YouTube and you can watch the replay of the video. Eye gaze, vocalizations. So it doesn't have to be verbal speech, but just vocalizations. Behaviors communication, right? We say it all the time. Pictures and robust AAC devices. So I loved this quote from David Niemeyer, that might be how you pronounce it, and Amanda Hartman of Assistive Wear. And it's so perfect when it comes to multimodal communication. Remember that communication is the goal, the method is secondary. So I would say we would all think that is true. We want kids to communicate with us somehow, some way. It doesn't matter the method, right? We can make this more effective, more efficient for them over time, but we have to start somewhere. And so the method doesn't matter at first, as long as they're communicating with us. So to end this, I have 3 tips for encouraging this multimodal communication in young autistic children. And this is nothing new. It's what we've talked about, basically. Kind of a recap. So tip number 1, accept and model. So after a child's communicated something, like pushing away materials, don't put their device or communication book in front of them and say, tell me with your talker or tell me with your book. Instead, accept their communication, and you can model another way to communicate that message using their device or book. The key difference is we're not insisting they're using the AAC when they've already communicated. We're acknowledging it and we're modeling it in another way. So here, this might be hard for you to see, but it says, for example, a communicator points toward pancakes and asks for more during breakfast, So he points. He has initiated communication through pointing. We would then maybe model the word more on the AAC device and say, oh, maybe you want more. You can encourage the communicator to tap more on the AAC system through an expectant pause, like, oh, you want more. And then you keep going, right? And you can acknowledge and respond to their pointing attempt. Oh, I think you want more. And then press it, more. So this one is just kind of recapping what we've already talked about. Tip number 2, model functions. So keep modeling the use of AAC for different communication functions. Don't make it just for requesting, I want, right? So we want to model protesting, requesting, commenting, directing, asking for information throughout the day. Much easier to do this on a robust AAC device versus just pictures in a book, but just be thinking of that throughout the day. And number 3, we've all talked about this tonight already, and you guys have had such great comments and feedback, but respect. So let's respect and accept the different modes of communication that your autistic students use. And it might take baby steps for us to get there too, but let's take action. Let's say this week we're really going to check ourselves, and we're going to say, I'm going to be more accepting of different ways that my students are communicating with me. Okay, so where can you learn more? The AAC Coach, if you look that up on Facebook or Google it, you'll find their page. They have tons of awesome graphics and information. And then Rachel, I don't know if it's Modal or Modal, you can find her at these two. Her handle is Rachel Modal SLP on Instagram, and then rachelmadal.com. And she has a course on AAC. So a couple places for you to look. And I don't know if you guys have heard, but I've been talking all over social media because I am hosting an adapted book challenge starting next week. And I have my adapted books here. Hold on, let me get one for you. I'm so excited because I have books like this with the adapted pieces inside, and I have been using adapted books so much more in the last 2 years, and I'm passionate about them, and that's why I developed this challenge so that you guys can come get some free goodies. So let me know if you're coming already with a yes or a heck yes. If you're already signed up and ready, the Start Here video is ready inside of the Kajabi where the challenge is hosted, the platform. It's ready there, so you can go look at that. If you haven't joined yet, autismlittleLearners.com/challenge, and it's a video series that starts on Tuesday. You'll get an email reminder, and you'll be able to go in for 5 days. I'll have tips and a pre-recorded video that you can watch when it works for you, and then all the pieces for 5 different books. And guess what? I added a bonus with 2 more books. So the full list of books is in the Start Here if you go and watch that Start Here video. Let me know if you have any questions, but I'm super excited to share a bunch of tips and give you guys, I know you're action takers and you're going to take this and run with it. As this week unfolds with the challenge, you can, as you get books done, post them inside the Visual Supports Facebook group, and you will be entered to win prizes. So I'm going to be giving away adapted book resources and bundles and a laminator and Velcro and all sorts of things. So join me in the challenge. I'm super excited. All right, I think that's all for tonight, but thank you for being so thoughtful in your discussion tonight. It really was, it just made my night, makes me excited for the week to come. So I will see you inside the Adapted Book Challenge, and I hope that your Monday after break is good and peaceful and zen. Probably won't be, but I mean, not zen. Let's face it, it's the Monday after a long weekend. But we got this, right? We can do it. All right. Have a good week, and I'll see you soon. Bye-bye.